that you can be Latino and American at the same time?
Yeah. I think so. So, I mean, you can have like a fully Latino heritage, like both your parents like Latino, and you're brought up like that, and then when you live in the U.S., you can be like exposed to all like the U.S. customs and traditions and stuff. And so in that way, when you're brought up Latino and then you're just exposed to the U.S., you can be both.
Right.
Or if you're like one parent from both, you can also. Yeah, I think they can. Sometimes a lot like they say like more stay American than stay Latino. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So like I don't know. I'm not like an immigrant. My family were, and my grandparents when they spoke Spanish in school, like they would get bullied and like kicked out of the classroom for speaking Spanish. And so that's like one example of like you need to become American. You need to speak English. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And here, okay, it's not as bad for me at all. But like I still feel weird when I like say things in like Spanish, like if I say like quesadilla or something, everyone's like, oh, what is he saying? Like, yeah. And so, yeah, I feel like for sure they're like, you should be more American than immigrants.
Okay.
Like they don't say like, oh, in this place you need to be this, in this place this. It's more like a conversion, you know?
Yeah.
Like again, going that's like the becoming like a U.S. citizen or whatever, an American. They want you to like convert to what they think is like the right U.S. citizen. Whenever you're living in the U.S., you have to read these things and stuff. And so instead of like switch, oh, when your family you're this, when you're with other people you're this. Instead of that, use all the time you should be the American citizen. For gatherings and stuff, we go to like all Indian weddings, Mexican weddings, Mexican traditions. We go to Mexico, we go to Canada, and like I experience all of that. I mean, obviously I live in the U.S., so we get like 4th of July, we get like all the U.S. stuff, and like I feel it. I feel like a part of it, but I feel more connected when I'm with the Indian, the Mexican, the Canadian.
Yeah.
So like that's your culture. Like you shouldn't have to change for someone else or for the U.S. like traditional like the picture.
Yeah.
And so in an ideal U.S., you would be embraced for like embracing that, and so you should do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it does.
Basically, like I've always heard liminal spaces described as sort of places that are like sort of otherworldly, or sort of maybe sort of between like normal periods, and like it's sort of like a very like different space where like everything feels sort of like different, but an American. Wow, actually, I got my citizenship like 3 weeks ago. And that was because my dad went to Chicago to get his done, and then because like I'm a minor, like, and I'm like his son, like automatically got it. So that was pretty cool. I didn't even have to like do any paperwork or anything, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, definitely I am. Yeah, definitely like an American. I feel like, yeah, I like being an American. It feels like it has like a lot of like history behind it, and there's a lot of like bad history and a lot of good history, but more than anything it feels like very familiar to me. So yeah, like somebody who was, you know, born in South America, who still like visits South America a lot, who has like all my family like, you know, in Chile. So like the Latino element is still like culturally like pretty like resonant for me. I think definitely like Latino is like a cultural like descriptor, and so then I feel like maybe if you're like third generation and you know like you really haven't like you know like had much immersion in like the original culture that, you know, that was like Central Latin American, then I feel like it sort of does sort of like start to fade, you know, and like it sort of like fades for like the American, but like no, definitely you can be like both. I feel like in a literal sense, yeah, because I feel like there is like very markedly different to here. So whenever like I travel, and I do travel like basically like once a year, like there is like that obvious like literal like, yeah, like switching between worlds. But also like I think for me like a big thing is like, for example, my mom doesn't even like speak English, and then like she like is like very like far removed from being like an American like in that sense, you know. My dad also like I feel like he immigrated here when he was already an adult, like in his 30s, so I feel like even though like he's gotten used to how it is here, and so has my mom, they both gotten used to it, I feel like it's never going to be really truly something like in it within them, you know. And so I feel like when I go home it feels like in a sense like still like very different from like what a lot of other people have as their families. Like I feel like a lot of the people here, which I sometimes don't relate with, is that, you know, like being at uni, being like out in town is like not like a different experience than like being at home, being with their family. And I feel like for me, like both like in the language that's spoken, but also sort of like in a cultural sense, like when I'm at home, when I'm with my family, like if it does feel like sort of separate from when I'm at school. Sometimes like other kids or whatever, they talk about things and they talk about their parents, like knowing all these people in town and sort of like just knowing how it works. Like my parents don't even really like have like a solid idea about how like American high school works, because like they went to like Chilean high school, and that was like different in its own way. And so I feel like it's like different for me, and it's kind of weird like thinking, you know, some people like they can talk to their parents about all this stuff, and like their parents know what an ACT is, their parents know what an SAT is, you know, and their parents know about prom. Like my dad didn't even know about prom until like I went to prom. So like it's just like